The Maple Leafs just played their best game under Craig Berube with a big-time win over the Bolts. We'll recap the game and talk about the budding starring goal for Toronto, while also getting you set for night two, the back-to-back tonight against Columbus. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf Centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. If you're listening to yesterday's podcast, I did say over 4.5 shots for Austin Matthews. That was my best bet that I offered on yesterday's pod. It cashed tonight. So did the Leafs win a monster victory, 5-2 over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Dave, outstanding full team effort. What did you make of that one?
I mean, you had to appreciate right out of the gate, the Leafs were like this, we're winning this game. Dominated right off the opening faceoff. And like the different areas in which they dominated this game on both ends, really, like Lightning struggled to get chances, so they got frustrated. The Leafs were forechecking really hard and cycling the puck well, frustrating Tampa on the other end, and then made Andre Vasilevsky look like an average goaltender.
I saw the tweets out there. Looks like Andre Trashalevsky is who suited up tonight over Vasilevsky.
Pretty solid.
Trashalevsky. I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, 4 goals on 14 shots. It's not great from a guy who's typically one of the best goaltenders in the NHL. But, hey, credit to the Maple Leafs, man. I thought that they played awesome as a team. Full 60-minute effort for the Buds. Power play got going. They had a goal. They were setting up chances throughout the night. The penalty kill was decent until they gave up that one late in the game. The big boy scored. The goaltender, man, Anthony Stolarz was fantastic tonight. He made a couple big saves. That swipe off the goal line, that was unbelievable, man. Like we haven't seen a big save like that, I guess, like a goal-saving stop from Stolarz, like one that's going to be on highlight reels yet. That was one that for sure is going to be all over SportsCenter and Sportsnet tonight. As look at this, inches from passing the line, and he swipes it off, and that was a big moment in the game too. Kind of kept the thing, kept the Leafs in the lead as Tampa started pushing. Could have, started a comeback, but didn't let that happen. Thought Toronto did a great job pressuring puck carriers and just applying pressure all game long. Stood up for each other. There was a fight, like Domi, and then the fight at the end. Just overall, it was like, man, just start to finish. That the Leafs showed what they're capable of, I guess. And when they're playing at their best, like that to me, what we just witnessed is exactly what Craig Berube wants this team to do on a nightly basis. That's what that looked like to me.
And they did it, but they also did it in a way that it was a statement. Like, I think Tampa was, they looked shell-shocked. They played the Leafs, like this Lightning team has played the Leafs how many times over the last few years?
Yeah.
They're probably like, we've never felt so like this before from this team.
Right. So what does that tell you? Does that tell you that things are different? A little bit? A little bit. Again, we're still, like 6 games into the season. We're not ready to play in the parade. We still got to see and make sure that this carries into April. I get that. I'm not trying to, overthink things. But when you watch last night's game, it's like, okay, things are different. Other teams started to see that. Before the game, I think John Cooper even said, like, yeah, it looks like this group's got, a little bit more pushback to them. Well, they pushed back tonight and they pushed hard and pressed hard on this Tampa team, lit them up for 5 goals. And I thought everyone kind of top to bottom was terrific tonight, including, Austin Matthews was great again, leading the team with 6 shots on net, killing off penalties and blocking shots while up 5-2. Like everything went well. Everything went well for Toronto tonight. It was everything except Pontus Holmberg. He got robbed of a goal. That I believe. He was robbed. That should have counted.
Absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry. What were the refs watching on that play? Yes, I know Lawrence had the puck in his hand, but then he used what's called a hockey stick to pass it to Holmberg before he shot it. I don't know if maybe the refs forgot that a stick isn't the hand. I don't.
What's annoying to me is I can give him a pass for thinking, because like it was a very light touch from Lawrence to Holmberg. So it's very possible that the ref did not see the touch and assume that it was a hand pass. However, they showed that thing on the Jumbotron at least 6 times. The players, the coaches are looking up and saying, look, he touched it. What are you saying? Hand pass. Look, all you have to do is look up and say, "Oh, I think we got that wrong. Let's reverse it and just give it a like." That's what I don't understand. If you are willing to admit faults, right? Referees are willing to admit fault. You're willing to introduce a replay system which overturns officiating calls all the time. Why can't they just look up at the jumbotron, say, "Oh, we blew that one. Let's just go ahead and make the change. Let's call it a good goal as it should be." I just don't understand why they can't do that. Instead, like, no, not a challengeable play. Play on. Like, what?
Like you're the refs are willing to allow the fans to chant "refs, you suck" because you clearly and obviously got the call wrong, and then you're just like, nah, we're not gonna change anything about it. Why would we?
But like the NFL implemented that rule where they've got the replay assistance. So if the officials get something wrong on the field and it's like kind of blatant and you know something that could be over and should be overturned, they'll buzz down and they'll be like, actually, replay assistance, that was an incomplete catch, or replay assistance, that was, you know, a completion, or whatever it may be. You know, why they can't do that in the NHL makes no sense to me. Like, all you have to do is look up, you can confirm it and look and see, oh, no goal, or oh, yeah, it was touched. That should be a goal, and then just call it a goal. Anyways, they won. It's not like it cost them the game. That was just a little sweetener, a little empty netter for a guy who you know has been struggling a little bit. Would have been nice for Pontus Holmberg to get a goal, but you had a goal from Pacioretty. Got a goal from Matthews. You got 2 from Willie tonight. And Matthew Knies scored 1, almost scored a couple. So the big boys were firing. Defensively, I thought the team played really well. Special teams got it done. A real team effort, Dave. A real team effort, I thought.
Yeah, it's the type of game where you feel real good just because everyone, like, you got contributions from everyone.
Yeah,
in this game.
Bobby McMahon taking hits, making passes. Right. It was nice. He had Simon Benoit beacon at the end. Little, hey, check the scoreboard, pal. At the end there, like,
scoreboard
it was
check
good.
The best.
Yeah, gotta love a good old scoreboard check. A little chuckle on a scoreboard check. Buds, look up. Yeah, move along, buddy. But yeah, good solid victory for the Maple Leafs tonight. Why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back and we'll get to our 3 stars of the game, and then right back at it tomorrow. The Maple Leafs got the Columbus Blue Jackets, I guess tonight by the time people are listening to this, but night 2 of back-to-back, all 32 teams in action tonight. The ESPN Frozen Frenzy ensues tonight as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that and help tee up tonight's Leafs and Blue Jackets game. A potential change in goal could be coming. We'll tell you about that soon. I'm Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bet. So get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Let's go to the well again. We're looking at a best bet for tonight, Leafs Blue Jackets. I like Austin Matthews to continue to pepper goaltenders. He now has a season high, league high, 34 shots on net this season, nearly 6 per game. I think he goes over 4.5 again tonight in Columbus. You can make that wager over on FanDuel.com. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and David Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday on the Locked On Leafs podcast, available wherever you get your podcast from, Spotify, iTunes, Apple, whatever, and also available up on YouTube. All right. We do this after each and every victory. We look at the 3 stars of the game. Dave, a big-time dub, 5-2 for the Leafs over the Bolts. There's a lot of players that deserve a lot of love, but we're going to try and narrow it down to 3 stars tonight. We'll start off the tippy top. Who's your first star, babe? Dave?
I'm going to give it to William Nylander.
All right, Bill.
He was buzzing tonight. Like, that whole line was, but every time the puck was on his stick, that guy was just aiming for top corner, aiming for the goalie's ears. I thought he was going to take a goalie's head off tonight with the way he was shooting that puck tonight.
Yeah. He was buzzing tonight, and you know, when he scored, and then throughout the night, saw him make a couple of darts through the net, like just so fluid through the neutral zone and getting opportunities on goal. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm like, man, Willie's arrived. Like, Willie has truly arrived. Like last year, I think was obviously the big breakout, but you have to do it a second time in order to be that player, to be considered a top 25 player in the league. And the start that he's had this year, he's got 5 goals to start the year, 5 goals in 6 games. Like, this is what he is. He has arrived. He's an absolute superstar, and the Maple Leafs bet on him, and it's paying off. He's played terrific. He's driving his own line now with Domi and by McMahon. They seem to be having some good chemistry. I love what I'm seeing out of Nylander, and if he can continue to do that, drive that second line, it really balances out the lineup. And you saw what that can do tonight. You got contributions from 3 different lines tonight, and that can continue forward if this is the way that the lineup's going to be built. Man, the Leafs are going to be in a good spot. So, William Nylander was terrific. I gave my first star to Anthony Stolarz. Stoli, the goalie, baby. 32 of 34 shots, stopped 32 of 34 shots tonight, 1.97 goals saved above expected, and quite literally saved a full goal on that insane wipe off the goal line. I'm just sitting there watching this puck in slow motion, just curl in over the line, and all of a sudden he turns, gets the glove, and snipes it, smacks it off, and kept that one out of the net, which, again, we haven't seen a save like that, I guess, all year. It's just like, man, this guy's dialed in. He's just dialed in. He made a couple of really good saves in tight two tonight, some really, really solid stops. The one slight issue I think I could say about Stolarz to this point, it's like just the rebounding, the rebound control could use a little bit of work there, right? I think he does give up a lot of second and third opportunities. He allowed 8 rebound shots against him tonight. But outside of that, man, the guy's just so good. And when he gives up the rebounds, at least he is there to make the save. That's why he's got the highest high danger save percentage in the NHL right now. But that's you're playing with fire. But he's been fantastic all year, and I thought that he was amazing again tonight, especially when the Bolts really tried to push there for a couple of shifts in the second period after the goalie change. Stolarz stood on his head, made a couple of big stops, and none bigger than the swipe off the goal line. So for me, I gave him the first star tonight.
He was my second star. You look at the way he's played, right? No, I don't think anyone expected at this point for him to have 5 starts to his name and winning 3 of them. And you see again the compete from him, right? He's in good positions, he's getting out in front of pucks. If he gets caught deep a little bit, he's got the size to back it up a little bit at least. But I mean, the way he swiped that puck off the line, we haven't really seen him make a play like that because really he hasn't needed to, because he's usually in solid positions when he's making saves, right? He's not caught out of the net a lot. He's not caught in bad spots. He got unlucky on the first goal, considering it went off Simon Benoit. Usually you expect your defenseman to keep the puck out, not push the puck in. It was just an unlucky play there. I mean, the rebound came out. That's the example of the rebound control maybe would have helped them out a little bit there. But Yeah, I mean, William Nylander gave a pretty good assessment of his game, saying like that save was just ridiculous from him.
Yeah.
And he kind of gave Benoit, he appreciated the effort that Benoit made on the play. Just it happens.
Yeah.
You kind of walk it off, right? But
Well, Benoit took he took a post to the face, basically.
like neck face. It does usually. Remember when Austin Matthews did that and someone asked about that? And he's like, yeah, I just want to skate into the post,
Yeah, I want to skate to the post. Like, yeah, oh yeah, it's that was a funny response there from Matthews. But yeah, like he solid performance again. Like he hasn't had a bad game yet, realistically. He's been really good, man. Like really, really good. And this team, this is now what are we 5 games into this, 6 games into the year, and they've allowed 2 goals or less in 5 of the 6, and have allowed 2 goals or less going into the playoffs last year in 8 of the last 9 games. Or no, yeah, 8 of the last 9 games. So pretty solid stuff from the Maple Leafs. I think even you had a stat actually for that you wanted to bring up for the first 6 games that the Maple Leafs have played, just like how much better they've been at keeping the puck out of the net. It's a combination of the goaltender playing really, really well, obviously with Anthony Stolarz, and the team defending in front of him. It's a combination, I would say. So it's not one or the other. It's not the chicken or the egg. But if you look at the Maple Leafs and their goals against through the first 6 games in the Matthews, Marner, Nylander era since 2016-17, they have allowed the least amount of goals to this point through 6 games, just 13 goals against. 13 goals against. That's it through 6 games so far this year. They had allowed 20 goals last year. They had 15 the year before that, which is pretty good. 19, 17, 22, 22, 19, then 26. But just 13 goals, which is the least, obviously, through this stretch. And that's impressive when a couple of those games are against, the LA Kings, which is a good hockey team, right? The LA Kings, the New York Rangers, the Tampa Bay Lightning. We're talking about playoff teams, right? Playoff teams. Sidney Crosby's Penguins, right? So, really, really solid stuff from the goaltender, from the team. My second star, I guess, encompasses all of that, and it's just I'm going to give it to the Leafs in the third period. I thought it was a textbook third period from the Maple Leafs, right? Played hard, played physical, some tempo, waves of pressure offensively. They were aggressive on pucks on both ends of the ice, forcing turnovers, getting to loose pucks quicker, keeping the offense on their own end of the ice so that they were able to get, second, third waves. And then ultimately, they just grinded out the win. They didn't allow anything. 0 high danger chances given up in the third period by the Maple Leafs tonight. And they only gave up like a couple of scoring chances. I think it was 2 scoring chances in general, and they were shorthanded for like a decent amount of that period. So I thought that the Maple Leafs take away the penalty, obviously the penalty, the late goal. Thought they had a textbook third period, and that's what you want to see, right? When a team is up big, up 5-1, and they can close out a game like that, it's exactly what you want to see. I thought they did an excellent job. They rolled all 4 lines, rolled all 3 D pairs while doing so. Total team effort. Really, really liked the third period out of Toronto.
Yeah, you get a little concerned when you see a team push back, right? And they scored. I don't remember how they scored late in the third, which I thought that was probably a big thing from Toronto, is they didn't allow an early goal, because 5-1 lead usually, as they say, will now become the safest lead in hockey. But you allow a couple early, especially with some of the penalties they took, you get a little. You're like, okay, like don't give them any reason to think they can come back in this game. But credit to them, they didn't. They were pushing hard, forechecking, getting into the dirty areas, getting chances on that. They were relentless, really. And that's, I think, just building the right habits, right? A few games ago, Craig Berube saw that they were letting the foot off the gas, didn't like what they were doing against the Kings, took a timeout and basically told them, don't do that.
Yep.
he didn't use those words exactly. He used language
more
we
colorful.
cannot,
More colorful
language we cannot use on this podcast. But the message was sent, even against the Rangers. Like they pushed hard all game long, and they didn't just give up. And I think that's it. Again, it's just the message, right? It's the guys also all obviously in the room too, right? Not letting their play dip at all, which is, it's easy in a 5-1 game to say, all right, we're just gonna get ready, and they got a game the next day. They can easily just be like, all right, we got a game tomorrow, we got to prepare for Columbus. It's easy to let the things kind of slip when you're thinking ahead, and they didn't do that tonight.
Yeah. I mean, both teams have a game, so maybe even Tampa was like, this one's over, and they kind of let up. Like, that's also possible. Like, we'll save our efforts for tomorrow night, and that's probably also why Vasilevsky ended up getting pulled, because that's not normal, right? Like, they don't usually take that guy out of the net, no matter how bad of a game he's having. I think it was more to do with, all right, let's save him for tomorrow, and try and see if this can spark anything. But if they didn't play tomorrow night, I do believe that Vasilevsky probably would have been given more than a 4-goal leash tonight. Okay, your third star.
I'm gonna go with Matthew Knies.
Same.
He's looked so dominant. Like, he's done, like, to me, the only thing he hasn't done is just gone off for a bunch of goals, because he has the ability now, when the puck is on his stick, to just say, ring the bell, I'm coming through, no one's going to stop me. Like, he's, honestly, I'm going to make this comparison. People can say yes or no on it. He looks like Derrick Henry with the puck, which is, you give the guy the puck, defenseman teams are just going to say it. Like, opposing teams going to say a prayer and hope they can stop him.
Dude, he is strong on his skates. He's strong when he's got the puck on his stick. Like, his puck carrying abilities is up there with the best of them, whether he's below the goal line or he's darting over the blue line through the neutral zone, winning battles along the side at the boards. Like, yeah, the guy's doing a terrific job, doing exactly what this team needs of him. And then he's scoring beautiful breakaway goals between the legs as well. On top of it, and almost had a second. I almost had a second goal too. Made that, like, was it Kucherov that he
made look silly.
Made Kucherov look silly, which we're totally fans of. Here to see that. And almost had another really, really good opportunity to get a second goal tonight. So yeah, I thought Knies was quite good. That whole top line really was great. Marner, a couple assists. Matthews obviously scored for a third straight game. Ended up with 6 shots on net tonight. That the whole top line was great, and they seem to be really finding some chemistry right now after a bit of a slow start. The first couple games, the last 3, they're rolling. They're rolling now, and they'll keep it rolling tonight in Columbus. Let's come back, get into the game, tee it up for y'all. It's the NHL Frenzy. All 32 teams in action tonight, but we'll tee up Leafs and Blue Jackets more in depth. That's coming up next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. So that's Indeed.com/lockedon right now. And support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
The Locked On Leafs podcast continues with Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We'll close the book on last night's win and hope the Maple Leafs can get it going. They head out on the road after, what was that, a 4-game homestand they just had here. So now they head out onto the road to take on the Columbus Blue Jackets. All 32 teams in action tonight. So you've got your ESPN NHL frenzy with everyone playing staggered start times, which I'm a big fan of. I think that's awesome. And the Leafs and Blue Jackets get the 7:30 start, 7:30 Eastern time. I don't want to get too overboard by saying this, so I want to be careful of how I say it. But because again, it's still very early. There's a lot to, we don't need to. Every time we make a declaration, we don't really need to, I guess, state, oh, it's early, oh, it's this, it's that, but it always applies. But this is kind of a big test for the Maple Leafs, is it not? This is usually the game where they let up and the team kind of takes the foot off the gas. It's a trap game. This is a total trap game for the Keefe-led Maple Leafs. Coming off a big win against the Lightning. They're rolling. The team's playing well, full team effort. And usually what has happened in the past, or I should say usually, but oftentimes what has happened in the past, the next game, they got a team that's much lower in the standings, one that they should absolutely wallop. And for some reason, they just can't get it done. It's usually a sloppy start, a bad goal to start. First 20 minutes, you're like, where the heck is this team? And they're chasing it. And either they sometimes muster up a win in overtime or, often will lose the hockey game. It's happened many, many times, especially against Columbus. It is a bit of a trap game, though. So to me, if it doesn't turn out that way and the Maple Leafs did what they did tonight, this would be one thing that you could check off on the way to saying maybe things are different. If they could pull this off, have a great game, control it, crush the Columbus, I think that's a good way to say, hey, that's another thing that's different, which is exactly what we're looking for early in the year.
Exactly, right? We talked about things we were looking for to say that this team this year is going to be different. It's how they're going to take opportunities like this where they're playing an opponent that they should beat, right? And Craig Berube is going to come out there and he's going to say, we're the better team. Let's go out and let's play like the better team. Don't let up. I think that's where Craig Berube knows this. He's probably watched this team enough to know that this is something that they have been very guilty of in the past. So you think that the Leafs will be in a good position to not basically not have a letdown type of performance. Look, back to back, you're traveling. I mean, it's not a far distance, fortunately, to Columbus, but there's going to be those excuses thrown out if things don't go right. But Craig Berube is not going to use any excuses if the Leafs don't have the effort that he believes that they need to have right in a game like this. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean tonight's game shows that there was a challenge ahead of them. They were ready for it. I want to see if, especially because it's likely going to be Joseph Woll's first start of the year.
Yes, and that's what I want to get into next. Craig Berube said Joseph Woll is a possibility for this game. He said that on Monday morning after practice. He was out there for the skate and took some shots. Obviously didn't play, wasn't activated for this game, but is expected to be activated. Most likely will play for Toronto tonight. Should get his first start of the season. And this is kind of a perfect game to get to do it, right? Like a game against Columbus on the road. It's an ideal spot for him to play, right?
It is the ideal, right? Now, back to back, usually not ideal position for the goalie that's getting the second half of the back to back. True. But if you are going to put Joseph Woll in a game, this is the game to do it.
Well, let me see what the ice times are like tonight. It felt like it was pretty spread out. Like
the Nylander played like 16 minutes tonight. Like they didn't. The one thing that did up the ice time of it was the fact that there were all those penalties. that the Leafs took. They took 6 penalties, so that upped the the usage of
Penalty
certain
killers.
guys on the penalty kill. But fortunately,
McCabe and OEL played 20. McCabe played 22 minutes. OEL played 21:40. Marner played 22 minutes. And then Matthews played 20:38. No one else though played more than 20 minutes tonight. So it was decently dispersed throughout the lineup, I would say. Domi only played 10 minutes tonight. 10:35. It's kind of surprising.
wow, it's a pretty efficient 10:35 considering.
He almost had as much time in the penalty box that he did on the ice.
I think that was also part of it too.
Yeah.
Like Tavares got. I mean, with the power plays too, you saw the top unit out there a lot more, so that actually also upped a lot of the time on ice for a lot of the big guys.
Right.
And obviously we talked about whether Joseph Woll was going to even be in uniform for this game, and it made no sense really. And we talked about that, and that's something they did. So everything points to Joseph Woll getting the game, this game. And I'm looking to see, the team's on a good spot. I don't think I know some people, there's going to be that talk about the goal. No, I'm not saying goalie controversy because there's no controversy, but there's going to be talk about whose net it is and things like that. We don't need to worry. Like right now, the Leafs, everything is working out so well.
Let's stop right now. I don't think there should be a conversation. I think Stolarz has done enough to win the net. Joseph Woll has played 43 games in the National Hockey League.
Of course.
He hasn't proven anything. Let's be honest. Like, yes, he looked great for the team last year, was awesome in the playoffs, but it's not like, this guy's Ed Belfour, Curtis Joseph out here, where it's like, he's our starter. When he gets back, he's going to play, right? This isn't just Shesterkin, Carey Price. Like, he's not. He hasn't played enough to really deserve to be like your starter without having to earn it. And he hasn't. But you know who has? Anthony Stolarz. So for me, the injury, unfortunately, availability is your best ability, and Stolarz was available, and he kind of stole the show, stole the net. Like it's not quite, who did Tom Brady steal the net from or steal the quarterback job? Yeah, it's not quite, Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe, where it's like Joseph Woll's left in the wings here, but it opened up the door for Stolarz to be the 1A and Woll to be the 1B. And until Stolarz faults, I think that's how it should be. I think we should see Stolarz playing, 3 of 4 games going forward.
You run the hot hand. We talked about that.
Yeah.
I just know at some point someone's going to bring it up.
It'll get brought up as a conversation similarly to the way that we're talking about it. But I would think anyone who's watched the Maple Leafs the first 2 weeks should come to the conclusion that it should be Stolarz' net until he loses it. Essentially, it's his to lose. I don't think Woll can get the net back, and I think Stolarz has to lose it at this point.
So I want to see. Joseph Woll plays the game, and he is ready for the next game.
Yeah, that's it. Not because it's not necessarily he doesn't really get hurt during the game. It's after the games. It's where the injuries arise for this guy. So, or in the final 2 seconds of a game, like in Boston, Game 6. Let's hope for good health for Joseph Woll. Anything else you want to touch on quickly on this game? Any other big matchups you're looking forward to watching here? Anything? Any players in particular?
Not really. I mean, Columbus is just they're a team right now that's obviously expectations aren't as high for them.
Yeah.
So
I like Fantilli. I'm excited to see what Fantilli's gonna do. He had a really good preseason. I think he had like 5 goals in the preseason. So he's a player that I'm high on just in general. So that's like the one guy in Columbus who I'm excited to watch tonight and see what he's got.
There are 2 players. One, Igor Chinnikov has had a really good start to the year for Columbus. And remember when Kirill Marchenko was looking for, I think it was Marchenko that was looking for the trade out of Columbus at one point. There was a little rumblings he wasn't happy about being sent down to the AHL.
Oh, I don't know if that was Marchenko.
It was oh no, it was a Juracek. It might have been
Juracek, the defenseman.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah,
I think it was him. So there are some good young players in Columbus, especially good Russians. So those are the types of players you got to worry for. And like Sean Monahan's doing pretty decent too, right? He's kind of now the de facto leader of the team. And, he had a good year last year, got himself a nice deal in Columbus, and he's a point per game player right now. So he'll be, I think you're going to be seeing a lot of Sean Monahan against like the top line against the Leafs.
I think so as well. Really quickly, and I mean really quick because we're up against it for time. Because all 32 teams are going to be in action tonight for the Frozen Frenzy. I'm curious. I'm going to give you 3 teams. Yes, you have to tell me who's been the biggest surprise team for you over the first couple of weeks here. The Winnipeg Jets, who are undefeated, the Calgary Flames, who I think are 4-1 to start the year, and the Florida Panthers, who've been without Matt Tkachuk and without Alex Barkov for the last week, and somehow are leading this division in the Atlantic. Who's been the biggest surprise team for you here?
Oh, it has to be the Flames. I mean, that was supposed. They're talking about adding, not subtracting. They're talking about adding in Calgary.
It's Huberdeau, man. Huberdeau's having a great start to the year, a really good start to the season. So, when you get top production from your top players, it's crazy how much better you are.
Anderson, Connor Zary, those, and Andre, like they got players. It's just, was it all going to be good enough to compete? So far, it has. So,
okay, flip side. Edmonton, Nashville, who's winless, still 0-5, or Colorado. Bigger disappointment. Really? Colorado. Yeah. They just can't get a save. They can't save.
I don't know where they keep thinking this goaltending was going to be good enough. They should have addressed this in the offseason. They stuck with their guns. And look, Nashville being 0-5, yeah, that's surprising, but it's also a team that's made a lot of changes, right? It takes time for that to gel, but yeah. I think Colorado, in my opinion.
Did you know that Zach Hyman is pointless through 6 games?
Is the standing in front of the net trying to get tap-ins is not working for him right now?
Come on, don't do that. Don't do it, man. Zach dirty like that.
Look, pointless. Yeah, that's surprising. Was he going to score 50 again?
No,
that was not. Like, he's a 30 guy. He's a 30 goal scorer.
I think so. 35 is like between 35 and 40, I think, is about where he's going to end up. Like, that power play is going to get rolling. That team's going to be fine. They've looked a lot better. They won their last couple games. He'll get rolling too, just like the rest of them. But I saw that stat this morning and thought it was quite shocking that he is pointless through the first 6 games after a 54-goal season. The opposite of what Sam Reinhart is doing. That guy keep on rolling. He's picked up the slack for the guys who've been missing in Florida. All right, that's going to do it for us here today on the show. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the podcast. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow to recap Maple Leafs and Blue Jackets. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.